Hey, good morning. It's good to be with you today as we continue in our time in Acts. Today, we're going to finish up Acts chapter 14. We'll be looking at Acts 14, verses 21 through 28. So the end of this chapter. And then setting the scene for next week, chapter 15 is one of the pivotal chapters in all the Bible. So that'll be a lot of fun to dig into. But let's look at Acts chapter 14, 21 through 28. After they had proclaimed the good news to that city being Derbe, and had made many disciples, they returned to Lysteria. Lysteria is where we talked about yesterday, where they thought they were gods and got beat up. And then on to Iconium. So they're going backwards. Iconium, and then Antioch. There they strengthened the souls, the disciples, and encouraged them to keep the faith, saying, "It is through many persecutions that we must enter the kingdom of God." And after they had appointed elders for them in each church, with prayer and fasting, they entrusted them to the Lord, in whom they had come to believe. They passed through Pisidia and then came to Pamphylia. When they had spoken the word of Perga, they went down to Italia, and from there they sailed back to Antioch, where they had been commended to the grace of God for the work that they had completed. When they had arrived, they called the church together and related all that God had done for them, and how he had opened the door of faith for the Gentiles. They stayed there with the disciples for some time. So this is the completion of what's often called Paul's first missionary journey. Paul took many missionary journeys, but this is kind of the completion of his first trip. Now he is back in Antioch. And if you remember, it was in the beginning of chapter 13, where they were commissioned in Antioch to go out to do mission work. So they go from Antioch. They leave there to Cyprus, Antioch of Pisidia. Then from there, they go to Iconium, Lysteria, Derbe, and then they go backwards. They then go back from Derbe to Lysteria to Antioch. I'm sorry, to Iconium to Antioch of Pisidia. Then back Cyprus. Oh, well, they don't go back to Cyprus. They don't go to Cyprus, and then they pass through Pisidia, another town in that part of the world, and Pamphylia, and then Perga. So then they get back to Antioch. So they kind of made a loop of where they went, and then they come back to Antioch, and they relate. And so you see, when they go back to these towns, they appointed elders or leaders in the early church. My official title as an ordained pastor is elder. Presbos, word priest comes from. Elders in the Presbyterian church, they have elders who lead the church. So elder is kind of a term that is derived from this passage, in these passages in Acts and other books of Paul that are terms for, I guess you could say clergy. I mean, clergy is probably the best term to use. Most clergy in structured churches, hierarchical churches that are not as independent, usually their ordination status or title is something along the line of elder in some derivative. So, Methodist, Episcopal, Anglican, Presbyterian, Catholic churches like that, you're going to see some type of, like in our churches as United Methodist, we have an ordination as an elder, which is what I am, one who's called to preach, teach, serve the sacraments. I'm an elder. And then there's a deacon ordination, and that's for those who are called more to service and word. So not that one's better than the other, not that one is holier than the other. They're just two distinctions of ordination in our tradition. And likewise, you see that in other traditions as well. So what we see here is Paul and Barnabas go through these areas, and they set up these elders for teaching and preaching in these areas, and then they return back to Antioch. They return home, and I think that's important. Paul's life's not easy, as we saw yesterday in Lysteria. They beat him up and leave him for dead. So Paul's work is not easy, and it's important to have a place to come home to. It's important to have a place that is yours. Antioch is a special place for Paul and for Barnabas because it's where they came from. It's where home is. It's Jesus says in the Gospels, a prophet hath no honor in his hometown. And I think that's true. It's hard to preach in your own church. It's hard to preach in the church you came from. I know when I've gone home to preach at Johnson Chapel, it's a humbling thing to preach to my home people, because those are my home people. Those are folk who raised me and taught me and nurtured me and helped make me who I am. So it's hard to go back and preach to your home people. But I do think it's very important to have a place that is home. To have a place that is home. A place where you are at home. And that we need that place, whether it be our literal home, whether it be the place we grew up, whether it be the place we live now. We all need a place of sanctuary. We all need a place where you can kick your shoes off, where you can be yourself. And sometimes that's a place. Sometimes it's a person. In fact, for many of us, if we're lucky, it's both. If we're lucky, we have a place and a person. Some of us have a place, some of us have a person. I know for me, that person's my wife. I know Holly is that place for me when I'm most myself when I'm around her. And we all have to have that place. Because the world can be hard, y'all. And frankly, what I've always wanted for the churches I've served is for these churches to be that place, whether it was in the Delta or outside of Philadelphia or Ripley or Petal or here in Madison. There needs to be, I always put it like this, there needs to be at least one place in your life that doesn't kick you in the face. That place needs to be church. We need at least one place in our life that doesn't kick you in the throat or kick you in the face. And what's ideal about that is it can be a people or a person, a group of believers. And it can be a place. That's the beauty of church, is that it can be both. So Paul and Barnabas finish their work and they come home. They come home. And so I guess I would ask you today, as we think through this passage, where's home for you? Where's home for you? It could be your literal home where you grew up. Could be your old home place. Could be where you live now. Could be a person. Could be a place. Treasure those places, y'all. Enjoy your time there and be intentional about going there. Paul and Barnabas could have gone anywhere. They could have gone anywhere. They could have kept going. They could have gone anywhere in the world, but they went home. And they stayed there for a while. It said it stayed there for some time with the disciples. Attend to your soul. Stay with your people for a season. Rest for a season. Go home for a season. Whether it be literal or figurative. Find that place of sanctuary, place of comfort, that place of safety. Find that place and treasure it and live there. And so then likewise, I would ask in the same line of thinking, how do you provide that place of home for someone else? We need that place, but we also need to be that place. How do you provide a place of home for your spouse or your loved ones? How do you provide it for your children, your grandchildren? Are you showing that ability for those who you love when they're in your presence to be able to kick their shoes off and let their hair down and rest for just a moment? What did Jesus say? Take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. Come and stay a while. So today, I guess my two questions are, where's home for you? Where's that place of Antioch for you? And in your life, how do you provide that home for others? How do you provide hospitality and welcome for those in your life who you love, who may just need that. Thanks for being with us today. Next week will be a little bit different. I'll do Monday. We'll pick up with this. I'm going to be in Hattiesburg for some next week, so I'm going to take my stuff with me, my mic and my computer and my recording stuff. So it may be a little bit different backdrop, maybe a hotel room, but I anticipate having these if I can find. I'm sure we'll have good internet in Hattiesburg, but I will be in Acts chapter 15 next in the 15 and moving forward. So it'll be a good time. So thanks for joining with us. Have a great week. See you Monday.